All right, so what's happening here is that this is, again, a simple prototype for an approach. And what the approach is that this is a deck of index cards. And my plan is to do most of the elements on these index cards, and then they are assembled into the pages of what could be called the document. And so what's happening here is that the theme is a technical document. Okay, so this technical document, I believe anything that isn't verbal is more or less a technical document. And so the technical document, more or less, is a comic book, but it's on YouTube. And it involves the evolution of indexed pieces that are then moved around and form these publications. Okay, so we'll put that one right there. The theme is contemporization. Okay, that's kind of sloppy. Contemporization. And what happens with contemporization? Contemporization is the linguistic making of now. So we have now one, now two, now three, now several, now here, now there. Anyway, this is page 2. Now, for indexing purposes, we'll make this page 1. That helps, right? Doesn't that help? Okay. Contemporization. Now, our phones are part of the technical document, and what's happening is we talk on our phones about making a living. That's what we do. We contemporize and talk about making a living. Now this is a cartoon character. This is one of several cartoon characters. And he is talking. He is a depiction of a conversationalist. This is page 3. So what's happening on page 3 is we have a depiction of a conversationalist talking about making a living, right, on this device using contemporization. So several contemporization devices are being used. Words, pictures, and depictions of technology. That's page 3. So we're talking about making a living. On a planet, and this is a depiction of a planet, and we have issues. So we could say we have contemporary issues. Now, what are our contemporary issues? We have several of them, but the number one issue that I think is happening is what I call nuclear climate change. Okay. Now, nuclear climate change, and this is page 4. This is, we'll call this Earth, and this is the northern hemisphere. And these are nuclear weapons. And the nuclear weapons have been around since 1945. And we've been very lucky. They haven't gone off very often. But they're all over the planet. And what's happening in the northern hemisphere is the North Pole is melting. And so is the permafrost. And under the permafrost is methane. It's all under here. So if several of these nuclear weapons go off in this environment where the permafrost continues to melt due to climate change, the methane will fuel an incredible fire that could basically rage across the entire northern hemisphere and create a great deal of radioactive debris. So in my opinion, nuclear climate change is probably one of the big issues facing humanity in issues of contemporization and talking about making a living. Okay, so now we're on the issue of disarmament. Now this is number 5. Disarmament means stop the war. So, in issues of making a living, contemporization, technical documentation, and all of this, what we should probably be doing is stopping the war, right? Using what amounts to language and conversation and understanding and contemporization, or the idea of now. We don't want to do this right now. Now that sounds simplistic, but we can do it with, again, depictions that we put in the technical document. So my plan with my little cards with these issues is we'll call this number 6. And these are going to be playing cards as well, see? This is called Mongers of the Crust. And if we're going to play Mongers of the Crust, we can stop the war, right? Can't we? I don't know. Anyway, so this is now a playing card, one of several representational, depictional playing cards, where the goal is to have peace on Earth as opposed to a raging wildfire across the northern hemisphere. Now, this requires success, so we're going to try to have depictional success. Okay, so that's great. Now, a YouTube channel. We're going to have a YouTube channel that has 24 hours and only 24 hours, a technical document called A Day in the Life. This is number 7. Now these are incremental pieces of currency. I'm creating currency now. These were worth about not that much, but now these are collectibles and they're worth a lot more than they were, right? Because we want to have depictional equity. So we're going to have some depictional equity for peace on Earth, and we're going to have a YouTube channel with only 24 hours of content called A Technical Document and a Day in the Life, okay? Or something around that for this peace on Earth kind of exercise. Now, this has to do with document assembly, and I believe that basically video editing is now the method for document assembly. Okay, so on the YouTube channel, we're going to use video editing for our simplistic document assembly for conditions on Earth or other things. The technical document is international, intergalactic, because basically it's fictional. But here's our little planet, and we're going to have a document discussing this on YouTube and this on YouTube for the purposes of what could be called legibility. So we'll put legibility in here. Now, the format that I plan on using, or can be used for this, is one that involves comics. And comics are kind of fun because they can involve action figures, they can involve situations, they can involve all manner of situations, like people on planet looking at the stars or other planets, or looking at their mobile devices, perhaps for peace, or perhaps for annihilation in the Northern Hemisphere and beyond. So we're going to use comics. And in the comics, we're going to have incremental deities, because I lost track of numbering my documents. We got to 7, so we have 8, and we have 9, and now we have 10, which is where we discuss this is a deity. This is an incremental deity. And it's an incremental deity. It's a contemporization, incremental contemporization, sociolinguistic, these deities are worth points and they're worth money. They're done in kind of a Picasso Mayan style. With some shadowing effect. Anyway, so this is a contemporization, incremental, sociolinguistic, phone minute deity. And this is number 10, and it is worth points now. And its name is Ferd. So this is Ferd. This is the deity Ferd, worth number 10 in the sequence of deities, worth points now. So, what is Ferd good for? Well, we take Ferd and other phone minute deities, and now we have an issue of indexing. We want to use our sociolinguistic deities to create a depiction of conversation using our devices about making a living. In our document assembly, so that we have legibility, on a YouTube channel called A Technical Document, A Day in the Life, that involves comics and choices for the purposes of success, for a depiction of peace and disarmament to stop the war in a language of conversation and contemporization now, so that we can avoid burning down the northern hemisphere with nuclear weapons and methane, in a situation of contemporization, a linguistic making of now, in what could be called our technical document. And so now what we have is we have 10 of these where we had none. And these aren't just simple index cards anymore, but this is what we could call important contemporary art. And this is worth at least $100 now. Don't you think?